Hello. Today the topic is stillness and why so many people avoid stillness. And keeping busy keeps us away from ourselves. So if we don't take time, we all have pain, we all have trauma, we all have things going on that's running the program all the time, all day long. And we don't even realize it half the time. So when we come to stillness and we come to sit down in quiet, you could call it meditation, you could call it stillness, but noticing where your mind wants to take you is so important, because the mind is a liar and it tells us things all day long that are not true. So that's why stillness is so important, because first we have to identify the way our mind wants to go, how we view the world, what we're saying about ourselves and about others, what we're saying about our pain, what we're saying about our life. Like, all of this matters so much, and there's so many people that are just going and automatically just listening to their mind, and then they wonder why they're in a bad mood, or they wonder why they feel so irritated and frustrated. And it's because we're allowing the mind to run the show. And the mind and all the kind of stories that we have accumulated based on our experiences is very subjective, because we can line up a whole bunch of people who've had the same experience or similar experience, and they don't have the same outlook. And that's because of the way we internalize our experiences, what happened to us. So the pain doesn't necessarily come from the experience so much as it comes from what we're telling ourselves about our pain. And of course, we're human and we're supposed to feel emotions. So dropping into the emotions that live in the body. And if you don't know that your emotions live in the body, just start noticing and paying attention. Because everything I say is things that I've experienced personally. So all of the things that I share are from personal experience. So it's experiential. So check it out for yourself. When you feel a certain emotion, check out, where do you feel that? Can you locate it in your body? And where does your mind want to go with that? I knew I couldn't trust that person. I knew they'd backstab me. People are out to get, I can't trust anybody. Just see what kind of starts rolling in there when you feel hurt, sadness, disappointment, anger, guilt, remorse, all of these emotions. And maybe you can't even name your emotions in a small kind of, like, bring it right down to, so I feel anger. What's underneath anger? Underneath anger is sadness. So start practicing kind of, what do I feel in this moment? And where is this feeling in my body? And what is the story I have with it? And when you might say story, well, Leah, that's the actual truth of what happened. And it's not necessarily the truth. It's the truth as you see it. And it might be the truth, but what are you layering on? Because this happened, I'll never XYZ. Because this happened, I'm always going to feel XYZ. So we have these things, these experiences, and then we layer it up with our mind wants to tell us things. So that's why stillness is so important. And the other thing I've noticed and found in my last 7 years of walking in deep grief after my daughter died, and after I decided that I decided I wanted to live. 2, I didn't know what that was going to look like, and I thought it would just be kind of living but in deep, deep pain. And then 3, deciding I didn't want to live in the deep, deep pain for the rest of my life. So how could I go inward and find some meaning, something to move me forward. So when we start kind of shifting like that, and we decide that we are putting that intention out there, that we want to heal, or whatever it is for you, I think inherently humans want to feel inner peace. More so than, the term happiness that's thrown around a lot. I just want to feel happy. Well, what is happiness? Like, is happiness feeling joyful all the time? What exactly is happiness? So we have to really break all these words and concepts down to kind of incorporate them into our own meaning. So for me, like, inner peace feels more like calm. And so for happiness, maybe to me that is a feeling of happiness, is to find some space within. And in order to do that, I had to drop out of my head and into my heart. Because the heart has a different way of healing, and the heart has a different way of kind of moving us in the direction that is for our greater good. Where the mind tends to keep us trapped. Our mind tends to kind of keep us closed in and safe. And safe isn't necessarily good for us, because of course as humans, as spiritual beings, we're meant to grow and evolve. So if we're always playing it safe, and we're trapped in this box of emotions, of that inner critic, that inner voice, that ego kind of dictating what we do need to do, who we need to control, what we need to do, that's the opposite of freedom and inner peace. And if we start listening to our mind, it's not necessarily going to take us far. And we know that if we look back over our life and see that every time we listen to the mind, we many times, not always of course, many times we dismissed what our actual intuitive heart, our intuitive space was trying to tell us to move in this direction. And we're like, no, I don't want to do that, because this is more convenient, this is more familiar, this is what I want to make work, even though intuitively, deep down, you kind of knew and you dismissed it. So stillness is so important when we want to heal, when we want to look within, because the only way we can actually heal whatever pain or cycle we're in, the only way we're going to be able to do that is to go inside. It's not to get busy, it's not to turn away from yourself, it's not to focus on all the external things that we are told will bring us to our goal, will give us what we want. That is all a big lie. And it's not about not having goals to reach or not wanting things, but the main goal should be, how can I find inner peace inside of me so that I can show up in my life and in the world from a place of love instead of a place of fear or goal-driven external goals to get us something for a short term that doesn't really last. So if we listen to the intuitive heart, and we have to only be able to access that through stillness. So we got to get rid of the noise and rid of the clutter. And the noise and the clutter is not going on in the outside world, it's going on in the inside world. So when we remove the noise and the clutter, and we're left with ourselves in stillness, some beautiful things can happen there. And then you start to trust. See, trust, when our trust is broken, it's really hard to know, like, what is my heart saying? What is my head saying? I don't know what's the right thing to do, because we've lost a sense of trust in ourselves to make a decision. We lost a sense of knowing what way to move, because maybe things we've done in the past that didn't work out so well, but maybe those were the stepping stones, those were the moves that brought you to where you are today. Maybe those weren't mistakes at all, but those were just maybe short detours, or what you needed, something in that place to bring you to where you are now. So I do believe there's no accidents, there's no you might have made bad choices, but if you embrace those bad choices to grow and evolve, is it really a bad choice? So learning to trust that inner voice, learning to trust yourself that you're on the right path, is a step towards learning to love yourself. And to love yourself, you do have to trust yourself. So again, coming back to stillness, how do we move in stillness is by actually listening to where our patterns are. I'll talk about patterns in the next video, maybe next week. So yeah, the patterns, we have to find out where our mind wants to take us, and can we come back home? Where's your center? How do you find your center? Practicing sitting and noticing, and then seeing if you can tap into what's behind the mind, what's behind, even just talking about it. I can feel the inner peace, the inner guidance, I can start dropping into the truth of who I am. And I'm not my mind, and I'm not my body. And I can define myself as a personality that way, but I know for me and for every single person, we're so much more than that. We're so much more than what we show up as our personality selves, as our mind and our body. And that when we sit back in stillness, we can find our center through our breath, through noticing that we know that there's something much bigger. And you might be thinking, well, that's fine for you, but I'm not a person that can sit still. I'm not a person that's going to kind of go into stillness. And I'm saying every single person, and my mind is very busy too. I think most people's minds are very, very busy. But when we can just sit with it and be kind to it and watch the thoughts come and go and notice what's happening, we train our brain to find stillness. Just like we train anything else. If we allow our mind to just go all over the place all day long, then we're training it to be distracted by everything in the external world. But when we say, no, we're actually going to sit here, we're going to allow the thoughts to come and go, we're going to connect to the breath, we're going to notice the way our mind wants to take us. Those are the first steps to finding that inner awareness, to finding the intuitive part of you that has always been there, but you've kind of covered it over with your life experiences and your perceptions of the world. And if you want to truly heal, I do believe that you have to come back inside to find that place of knowing. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that that was a few nuggets for you to contemplate, and when you do sit in stillness, to see what's going on upstairs, see what's going on in your mind, and meet those thoughts with love and compassion, and be kind and loving to those thoughts that have been programmed within you to kind of spiral in the ways that they do. So it's not just you that's an overthinker that thinks judgmentally, critically, angrily, frustrated, in all those ways. It's all of us. And the sooner that we notice it and then kind of see how our patterns flow, the sooner we're able to create the new neural pathways we need to kind of heal some deep wounds and let something go, to open up space within our mind and our heart for new experiences and new ways of showing up in the world. That's what I wanted to share with you today. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Share this video out with whoever you want, and I'll see you next week for our next video.